She's a brick house. Do do do. She's mighty, mighty. Just let it all hang out. And welcome to another episode of our Able Boys Debrief series. Today we are talking all about our episode with Amy Clements-Cortes, and I'm mortified. Personally.
No.
I called her a brick.
Like a building block, though.
I know. That's the intention. It's so funny when you go and look back at these episodes, even in that moment. I remember afterwards coming off of that call and being like, oh my gosh, Hayley, what just came out of your mouth? And, you know, I'm too honest and authentic to even cut that out of the episode because it fit well, and she was a champ about it and like laughed about it, and we had a good time after that. But it was just like in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, Hayley, foot and mouth moment.
But I think, I've had many of those moments, and I think, like you said, there's something really authentic and funny. Like, let's find the humor in it, too. But the intention she got.
Yes.
We know that.
Yes. Really gracious to Amy for sitting down and talking with us and sharing her journey and her wisdom, so much wisdom with us. It's been great to have her as a mentor, as somebody that I've come to love to work with in recent years. And you know, she's just such a staple, which I think is what I was meaning. She is a staple. She is somebody who is a pioneer within our field, and just what a pleasure to sit down and talk with her about some of the things that she's passionate about in mentorship, in professional development opportunities, and research.
Yes, and I agree with all of that. And I think it was such a pleasure to get to hear her talk about research, because when I think research in music therapy, I think Amy Clements-Cortes, based on a lot of my schooling, having been privileged to have her as a professor and a supervisor and mentor in those capacities. So it was really nice to get to sit down in that capacity and just hear a little bit more about her approach and her journey to getting there. And her excitement for questions, too.
Yeah!
And this came up a bit in our conversation with Dr. Sarah Rose Black as well, but just the fundamental of research is those questions and kind of finding that, that
great area.
Yeah.
There's so much great area and gaps and things that, you know, we need to learn more about, and finding those spots and asking those questions that, haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, and that's what Amy actually identified as one of like the best questions. Good questions come from the clinical practice and kind of figuring out, okay, what's working, why is it working, or why isn't it working, but also from those questions that are going to help identify a gap in the field.
Yes.
So even if we know a little bit of it, figuring out more to fill that gap or to get more people talking about it or thinking about it.
Yeah. And I think that's what research does, right? Mm-hmm. Is it just gets us thinking. I often find myself after reading a research study or paper that I have more questions at the end of it, that it's not like a daunting feeling. It's like an exciting feeling, because there's still so much to explore within our field. And I think that Amy Clements-Cortes has done a great job at really trailblazing there. And like you said, Kim, during my university degree, there was like Amy Clements-Cortes paper after Amy Clements-Cortes paper, and it doesn't look like she's stopping anytime soon. So that's how you can tell somebody is really passionate about something. And I think that passion feeds into her work and why we use it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that, she has a lot of different realms of places that she's passionate to, and I really resonate with that because I'm very similar. I'm someone who needs to have my feet in a couple of different areas to keep myself going and passionate. And she spoke to us a little bit about, okay, how do we make sure I can do this research, but also supervise, but also it's important for her to be also doing clinical work to fuel those interactions. And so I thought that was very interesting and relevant because many music therapists wear a lot of different hats. And so I think there's a lot of empowerment in that and being able to not have to pick one thing and also to keep it a little bit fresh. And that for me fuels my passion in each of the different areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just keeps us going.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and she has drawn from so many other people, I'm sure, that came before her and the pioneers within our field, just to get to a place where we are.
Right.
She mentioned that, she's really proud of where we are right now and where we're heading. And I think that's such an inspiration for people like you and I, Kim, and many of the people that I've come in contact with over social media and in person at conferences. We all have this common goal of wanting to build more exposure for the field of music therapy, wanting to create more opportunities, wanting more accessibility within our field, which is something that Amy is not only trying to achieve within her research work, but also her professional development opportunities.
Yes.
And so her and I have had the opportunity to collaborate on an anti-oppressive practice CMTE course, and it's been really lovely just to see all of the people that are learning from the course. Like in anything you do, and I think it's important to talk about this, like in anything that you do, there's going to be pushback. Not everybody is going to agree with what you're doing, and I'm so passionate about anti-oppressive practices, so is Amy. I've been really grateful to have her support on this, because even when there's been pushback and elements of people that necessarily might not agree with promoting an anti-oppressive practice or being really firm in their biases and their beliefs, and not wanting us to put this message out into the world, Amy has been somebody who has stood up for this philosophy, and really, I couldn't be more grateful for that, because I'm tired.
Heck yeah.
I talk about this so much, and I feel like it's not necessarily my responsibility to educate people on issues of bias or racism or any kind of hate mentality. And I think that it's really helpful to have allies that are able to take that up when you feel overloaded. And I'm passionate about it, but I can't do it all by myself, which is something that we have been talking about quite a bit, is not doing anything by yourself. Right. We have a community of people for that reason, to help support.
Yeah, exactly. To build each other up, and Amy says in the episode, to pump each other up, and to, like you said, support one another and learn from one another, and to take those tidbits of, okay, Hayley's created something really meaningful and something that's really important for our field to observe and to learn from and to explore. And so she was able to be, like you said, that ally for you in that space of, great, let's pump you up, and let's pump up this resource because it's important. And I think that's the general mentality of the research field. And I think maybe that's something we don't all realize, is that we think it's something scary, and it's hard to put your opinions or your questions or things out into the world. But that general mentality, from what I've experienced and who we've spoken to so far, and my personal experience, is that we want to build each other up, and we want to build on the research and the resources that we put out there. And so you're not in it alone. Yeah.
And talking about the mentality of research as well, I think researchers really have that inclination to stay abreast of what's happening in the world, so that they can ask the right questions. And so when it comes to things like social justice, which is really impacting our world right now, I understand why people like Amy, who are so passionate about research and asking questions that matter within our field of music therapy, why it's so important to her to make these connections and to advocate. And so I really take that with me going forward as well, knowing that there are so many people out there who are really looking to build our profession up, to make it the best that it can be, and that's all we could ever hope for.